Hello, I'm Joseph Nolet, and this is for EDU 548 Curricular and Instructional Methods in Higher Education, which is a part of Grand Canyon University's education program. Today, I'll be going through my course called Biology on a Molecular Scale with Lab. The content area of that course is none other than biochemistry, and the topic for this specific lesson is what are macromolecules. Topic 2.2. The objectives of this lesson: the learner will be able to describe all there is to know regarding carbohydrates. This covers the structure, characteristics, and function of carbohydrates in living things. More particularly, I will want my learners to be able to list the monosaccharides general formula, be reminded of how carbohydrates are divided into mono and disaccharides as well as polysaccharides, enumerate the synthesis and decomposition of disaccharides such as maltose, sucrose, and lactose, define the structure and function of glucose, starch, glycogen, and cellulose, as well as explain the role of monosaccharides in the process of transferring energy inside the cell of living organisms. Now, that's for the topic in general, about what are macromolecules. But for this exact lesson, we'll be focusing on the first two dot points and introducing the third before the end of the lesson period. As for how I anticipate the beginning of my lesson will be a review session. So a review of prior knowledge regarding carbohydrates will take place during the first 15 minutes of class, and will cover the following: the facts that carbohydrates are a necessary nutrient for humans, the fact that carbohydrates gives an organism energy, the presence of carbon and hydrogen in organic molecules, and the ability to detect carbohydrates using Benedict's reagent or iodine. This will be done using a Jeopardy-style question and answer session with topics like what a carbohydrate is, what is a carbohydrate's basic formula, and how do we test for carbohydrates. For questions that couldn't be answered correctly, a group discussion will be held to go over those topics more thoroughly. As for the instructional strategy for this lesson, the information will be formally lectured. Since it is the first topic with new information, there will be occasional check-ins to ensure that everyone is paying attention and understanding the topic during the Prezi lecture that I'll be performing. I will advise them to take notes, but only the most crucial information, because I know there will be a lot of information provided, and I won't be taking a lot of time, since this will be a little bit of a review and a refresher for some, and for those that need a little bit more in depth, I'll do whatever it takes to make those accommodations and help them to retain the information for their own revision outside of the lecture hall. For the benefit of visual learners, I will also incorporate some video clips, images, and a links page to those videos, pictures, and more, if that will also help them to better understand the material and cohabitate with the other students that may be wanting to clarify some parts of the topic. Now, as for how I be emphasizing engagement in the classroom, there'll be time set aside for students to break up into their think, pair, share groups to sum up 1 or 2 paragraphs each of the chapters that we'll be going through for that specific lecture. Might be some overlap in the chapters for lessons, but for this case there is 2 chapters that they will be working through paragraphs of. This will be beneficial for all students, but it'll be especially helpful for those that are kinesthetic learners or need to take a more hands-on active role in their learning process. And this will ensure the class understands the keywords and information for each of the passage by breaking up into these groups, and they'll be presenting what they learned and anything that they would like to note for their fellow classmates that were reading other sections of the reading for the day. The learners will then participate in group discussions about alpha and beta structures in biochemicals and write a brief overview of how that information might be used to describe glucose, since glucose is the major components to greater saccharides and carbohydrates. As for the assessment, an infographic and a formal test are the two primary evaluations for this topic. But as for the specific lesson, there'll be an exit ticket for the day, which will be a formative assessment for the lesson that consists of 8 to 10 questions with open-ended answers, just to see what they retained and what they didn't. No, the grade it will not be a formal grade in the sense that they'll be docked for incorrect answers. It's just more of a test to see what I need to do to modify the assignments that I do have pre-planned to better fit their needs, and to see where more clarification might be necessary for the beginning of the next lesson, since we'll be reviewing today's lesson tomorrow. And as for the differentiation strategies, by the end of the lesson, this is my focus, is that all learners will be able to state the general formula of monosaccharides. Most learners will be able to recall the classification of carbohydrates into simple sugars and complex sugars. And some learners will be able to describe the alpha and beta structures of glucose. Throughout this topic, and especially for this lesson, the utilization of group work and discussion, videos and photographs, tier assignments, and one-on-one help will be explored. Each group will receive 3 sets of worksheets that are stapled together, of course, with the complexity of the questions escalating with each page, as this is the first time we will be reviewing the material. I will spend some time getting to know each student as the groups attempt these questions to observe how they engage and contribute. And I'll step in accordingly to help those that may be talking less, or I'll help motivate those that are not being able to participate as well as the others. And as for the closure, I did mention about that exit ticket. An exit ticket quiz will be given to the learners, and then once that is finished, I'll quickly review the quiz, just going over there, all the questions, and I'll specifically inquire if there are any last-minute comments, questions, or concerns before the lesson is over. And within the last 5 minutes or so, I'll ask the class to rate the confidence in the material covered on a scale of 1 to 5, as well as I'll provide just a quick keyword summary of what our next lesson will be, and which chapters to review for today's lesson, as well as for the next lesson, to be prepared for that. So with that being said, this has been my lesson plan for what are micromolecules, topic 2.2 of my lesson plan. And I guess I'll see you soon. Bye.